Hi everyone, welcome back to Liz's Reading Corner, or welcome if you're new here. I'm Liz and I like books. Today we're doing a library haul. Typically when I borrow books from the library, I will put them on hold and then go and pick them up. So once a week, roughly, I will go and get, usually there's like 1 or 2 books that are available for me to pick up. This time I ended up with 13 books, so I figured I would show you what I've borrowed or what I'm currently borrowing from the library. So a couple of these also I picked up as we were walking through the library. So when I go to the library, I'll take my son with me. He'll play in the play area, so there's like a toy section that they can play with sometimes that has like all different toys, and then we'll go and have a look at the books that he would like to borrow and get some reader books because he's just starting to read small chapter books on his own. And so as we look around, if he sees something that he thinks I will like to read, or if I see something I will like to read, I'll also pick those up. Most of these were planned, though. Most of them were planned. So first we have The Sound and the Fury by William Faulkner. This is a part of a reading vlog that I am doing on the Goodreads top 100 most difficult novels to read. This is book number 3 in the list, so this you'll be seeing a lot of. I also got Finnegan's Wake by James Joyce, which is also a part of the Goodreads top 100 most difficult novels to read. This is actually book number 2. Surprisingly, book number 1 is Ulysses by James Joyce, but I have to wait for that one, unfortunately, so I got these for a reading vlog. So my son, when we were walking through the children's section, decided that James and the Giant Peach by Roald Dahl is a book that I absolutely must read. We've been reading a lot of Roald Dahl for his bedtime stories, and he's kind of over them, I think. I think he's taking a break, but he has decided that I need to reread James and the Giant Peach, so this is another one that I got. The Forest Grimm by Catherine Purtle. This was a book that was out on the recommended shelves so the librarians will put out books that they think people will be interested in. It caught my eye. I judged the book by its cover. Purely, the only reason I got it was because of the cover. The blurb on the back says, "Once upon a time, villagers would whisper their desires to the Book of Fortunes, and its pages would reveal how to obtain them. All was well until someone used the book for evil. Afterward, the branches of the Forest Grimm snatched the book away, and the village withered. The villagers tried to make amends with the forest, but every time someone crossed its border, they never returned. Despite the warning from her fortune-teller grandmother, Clara embarks on the journey into the deadly forest to procure the Book of Fortunes, to reverse the curse and save her mother and village. Clara's friend Axel puts aside his longing for her to join the journey. The young travellers have set their minds to defying fate and daring to accomplish what no one else has been able to before. Alas, the forest, alive with dark, deadly twists on some of our most well-known fairy tales, has a mind of its own." So this is a YA book. It sounds like a fairy tale retelling, or just a bunch of Grimm's fairy tales all rolled into one story. It sounds really, really fascinating. So I got The Sanctuary by Catherine Engberg. This is translated from Danish, I believe, into English. So this was only released last year. Our library has only just gotten a copy of it now. This, I believe, is a murder mystery, but reading the blurb, it reminds me a lot of Saw, which I loved. I love the Saw movies, which says a lot about me, I guess. A man awakes to the nightmarish sound of an industrial saw. Tied up and unable to move, he can only watch as the blade approaches. I'm going to butcher these names. I'm really sorry. Jeppe Corner, on leave from the police force and nursing a broken heart, has taken refuge on the island of Bornholm for the winter. Also on Bornholm, Esther de Laurenti is writing a biography on Marguerite Dibris, a female anthropologist with a mysterious past, and coming to terms with her own crushing sense of loneliness in the wake of a dear friend's death. When Jeppe lends a helping hand at the sawmill, he begins to realize that the island may not be the peaceful refuge it appears to be. Back in Copenhagen, Annette Werner is tasked with leading the investigation into a gruesome discovery found in a trunk buried in a downtown playground. As she follows this strange trail of clues, they all seem to lead back to Bornholm. With an offer to check out a lead, Jeppe unwittingly finds himself in the crosshairs of a sinister mystery rooted in the past, forcing him to once more team up with Annette and Esther to unravel the island's secrets before the murderer strikes again. This sounds really intriguing. I can't wait to read it. It looks really good. So this one is a new release. It is A Court of Betrayal by Anne O'Brien. It says it's an historical fiction, but I think it has romance undertones. We'll see how it goes. This looks really, really interesting. So this is set in 1301 in the Welsh Marches, and an heiress marries a man who is then accused of treason, and she has to fight for justice, basically. It looks really interesting. This is one of the chunkier books on in this haul, I should say. And yeah, just this one also, so as I was going through the new releases, this one just caught my eye because of the cover. So this is yet again me judging a book by its cover. This year so far that has not gone very well, so hopefully it'll start actually getting better, because typically when I judge a book by its cover, it tends to turn out well for me. This year I'm 0 for 0 on judging books by their cover, so hopefully this one will turn out better. I picked up Argyle. I don't think anyone will be surprised by this. I'm really, really curious as to what this story is like. It has some very mixed reviews. A lot of the people that I've seen that have read it, or I've spoken to that have read it, have not liked it in the slightest. But I'm really, really curious, so I guess we'll find out. This is another one that my son decided I should be reading. So this is Spy and the Spy, Samantha San Miguel. This is junior fiction, so it was in the junior fiction section, because we're also trying to find chapter books that he is interested in reading or wanting to try and read himself. We sort of do these also as bedtime stories, but typically I also end up just reading them myself. So next is another new release, The Antique Hunter's Guide to Murder by C.L. Miller. This was another I just picked up because it sounded interesting. I didn't even read the blurb, but it does sound really interesting. So for the past 20 years, Freya Lockwood has avoided the quaint English village in which she grew up. That is, until news arrives that Arthur Crockleford, antique dealer and Freya's estranged mentor, has died, and circumstances seem suspicious. But when a letter from Arthur is delivered, sent just days before his death, and an ordinary pine chest concealing Arthur's journals is revealed, Freya finds herself sucked back into a life she'd sworn she'd leave behind. Joining forces with her eccentric Aunt Carol, Arthur's staunch best friend, Freya follows both clues and her instincts to an old manor house for an antiques enthusiasts weekend, but not all is as it seems. The antiques are bad reproductions, and every guest has something to hide. Sounds really, really interesting and right up my alley. So again, hopefully we have broken the bad juju of judging books by its cover. The last 4 are all CJ Tudor books. I don't think anyone's going to be surprised that I am yet again rereading CJ Tudor. She has a book coming out in April, so next month, and I couldn't help myself. I had to reread all of them. So we have The Taking of Annie Thorne, which I think, from memory, this was the first book. So The Taking of Annie Thorne was the first book of CJ Tudor's that I read, and it scared the absolute crap out of me. My imagination absolutely went wild on this one. So I think this might be my favorite. It could just be biased because it was the first one that I read. So The Taking of Annie Thorne is about a girl named Annie who goes missing. She's taken from her bed and then is returned 48 hours later. But the brother feels that there is something off about his sister. So he investigates why she's not the same person after coming back. The Other People is about a father whose daughter is kidnapped as he's on his way home from work. And he actually sees her on the highway as he's driving home and loses her, and then spends a big chunk of his life trying to find her again. The Burning Girls, this is actually being made into, or has been made into, I want to say a TV series, or a Netflix series, I should say. It's not a movie, but it's definitely, this is one of my favorites. This is probably, I would say, right up there with The Taking of Annie Thorne. This was such a good book. I couldn't put it down the first time I read it. So this one follows a reverend and her teenage daughter who move into a small town and everything is not as it seems, basically. And then also The Drift. So The Drift is her most recent release, and I think the least liked, at least amongst the people that I spoke to. I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. It's a lot slower than the rest of her other books, but it's still a really good read. So this is about a group of people who are caught up in a snowstorm in a like a snow lift, and one of them is a killer, and they have to figure out who it is. So those are my library, or those are the library books that I have borrowed. That's my library haul. Have you read any of these? Are you interested in any of these? I will be doing a couple of vlogs, especially with the new releases. And there will be a CJ Tudor vlog that is going up very shortly as well, before her new book comes out, which I'm so incredibly excited for. What books have you gotten recently? Do you borrow books from the library? If you have any books that you think I would be interested in reading, please let me know. I always love to hear your suggestions. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye!